There we go. I was muted. I'm back. I'm not muted anymore. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for being here. We're going to get the show started in just a moment. But we enjoy this track, Feeding the Ducks. I've just become aware that my X account is no longer a verified account. I don't know what happened. That's okay. I'm not going to stream to that account. Okie dokie, everybody. Here we go. It's Canary Clubhouse Day. We're doing it. We're jumping in. Thanks for everybody for being here. Who do we got? We got Marty, Knocker K, Irene's here, Jonathan's here, Monica's here, Love Soul. Who else we got here? Jason. Okay, Guitar Man. What's going on, everybody? Remember, this is a call-in show. You'll see the link to call into the show right there in the description. People are already lining up in the back room. It's easy. It's peasy. Don't worry. You don't need to have any sort of fancy schmancy thing going on. You can just click that link, answer a couple questions. You'll hang out in the back room there. You don't need to have some life-changing insight. You don't need to wow anybody. It's just a chance for us to hang out, chat, whatever you got going on in life, whatever burning questions are presenting themselves. In a time such as this, we're just riding the vibe, folks. So go ahead, click that link, jump in there. You can watch and listen to the show in that back room for as long as it takes until I bring you up on stage, and then we'll do some chatting. There we go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start the show officially for the podcast version of the show. You know how this works. I'm going to put up this art right here. There you go. I'm going to hit this jingle, and then we're off. Here we go.
Called it. We got a caller. We got a caller on the line here.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Canary Clubhouse, an opportunity on this Thursday to reconnect, maybe connect for the first time, take a little break from all the nonsense going on in the world, and just kind of dive into whatever God's doing in our lives, in the lives of our brothers and sisters of the Canarium here. And if you're here and you have no idea what's going on, welcome. It's going to be a blast. Thanks for spending some time with us on your Thursday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No matter where you are, you probably are at work. But if not, you should be here. If you're not working, you should be here. That's the rule, okay? Some people have, not to say you don't have jobs if you're here, but some people they got different schedules, right? I got a different podcaster schedule. It's a good schedule, works for me. I've based my whole life on it. Isn't that how it goes? So of course, call-in show, like I said, hit that link down there in the description, answer a few questions. It'll put you into the back room. Hang out there until it's time. We're taking calls today, baby. We're taking calls. We're seeing what's going on with people. And the back room's already piling up. So we're going to jump in and take some calls pretty soon here. What am I going to say? Oh, I was, I don't know. Okay. I mean, just to sort of set the tone. I don't need, my computer's asking me if I would like to restart and update. Remind me later, please. Thank you. The computer should know I'm busy right now. What was I going to say? Oh, okay. So look at us go, man. We're chilling. Since last Thursday, things have gotten even more insane. The stakes are even higher. It's crazy. Everything's collapsing. Dollars collapsing. Gold moving up and down like it's Bitcoin. It's pure madness. Who cares? You know what's going on. Who cares? It's the Federal Reserve. It's the this. It's the that. But the point is that we are here. We are enduring. We're riding the wave, baby. We have faith. 2026. The world wants us to get invested and obsessed, to see ourselves and our destiny as connected with the narratives that are being propagated every day. That's what they want. So the revolution is not in the streets. The revolution is in our hearts. So God bless. We're just going to hang out, do that here. I don't know if y'all can hear it. It's been happening for maybe about a month now. It's a long story, but my chickens were doing a very bad job hatching eggs. They hatched 4 and they killed 4 babies. They didn't kill it. I don't think it was malicious, but they didn't do a good job of keeping the chicks alive. This was a few months ago now, maybe 3 months. And so I grabbed one. I brought the last one, the last hatch. I say, you know what, chickens, you've lost your privileges. I'm going to raise this one. I brought it inside. Very cute. It was hanging out with the indoor bunny. Got some cute pictures of the baby chick and the indoor bunny being friends. And then it got cold, right? So the chicken got to a certain age, and the plan was you then integrate the baby chicken, who's like a teenager chicken essentially, into the rest of the flock. And this is kind of a delicate process. It's kind of like cats, you can't really throw new cats in with each other. There's like a process and a crate and a whole thing. But the problem was, by the time it came to integrate the new chicken into the flock, it was freezing cold. And while a flock of chickens is able to survive, huddle together, keep warm, one chicken cannot survive cold weather like that. Not alone, okay? I think there may be a little bit of lesson in there for all of us, okay? We need to huddle with the flock sometimes when things get cold. Anyways, so I said, okay, I'm gonna put the chicken out there later. I'm gonna wait till it warms up. Didn't really think about it because things only got colder from there, obviously. And now I have a full-grown, majestic rooster living in my house. Yes, it was not a chicken. I thought, there's this thing where if you raise a hen with cats around, then the eggs that hen hatches can actually help people with their cat allergies. So it's like medicinal eggs. Very interesting. And so I said, okay, it's cold. I'll keep the chicken inside. Didn't know it was a rooster. Boom, it's a rooster. It is the craziest looking. I should have taken a picture. Maybe if somebody reminds me next Thursday, I'll take a picture of this rooster. It is the most magnificent, totally unexpected looking creature I've ever seen. The colors, it's basically, we're used to seeing like a red rooster and it has a green tail, or maybe a black rooster and it has, some shiny feathers, something like this. This rooster looks like the Frankenstein of roosters. It was all white for the whole time. I'm like, okay, it's a white rooster. Then it started getting some speckles, and I go, okay, it's a rooster that's white with speckles. But then it started getting red blotches of feathers on its wings. And when this first started happening, it was like one little red feather. I'm like, uh-oh, what is this? Is that blood? Like, I thought maybe the chicken and the bunny were fighting or something. I'm like, is that a little spot of blood? And I'm, okay, well, we'll see. And then more came and more came. And now it just has two, almost like, I don't know, just two huge clumps of red feathers on either side of the chicken. Still a white chicken with black spots, red, two weird blotches of red. I go, okay, those are feathers. It's not blood. Very interesting. Time goes on. It starts growing yellow golden feathers out of its neck. You know how roosters have this like really majestic sort of neck? It's almost like they're wearing like a Victorian, I don't know, neck. What is that called? Collar, a giant collar. And when they move around, it like flops around and stuff like that. So white and black chicken, red blotches on either side, and then giant golden neck brace on this sucker. And on top of that, it has these cheek feathers that are like sticking out like this, and it has a mohawk. It is the weirdest looking thing. Okay. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. Surely it will come up later in the episode. That's how it always happens. This will have some sort of spiritual or biblical significance. I don't know. I'm not in control of this, folks. Okay. We know that's how this show works. So, anyways, I don't know if you guys can hear the rooster during the show or if my uh my gates and my fancy sound equipment is like blocking it out or not. But the rooster basically crows once every 5 minutes, maybe. It's constant. Now, nobody's complained about rooster sounds yet, so I'm assuming that y'all can't hear it. But just know, throughout this episode and pretty much every episode for the past 3 months, I'm listening to a rooster. And, it's very sad. There's a long-running character on the show that dates back to my first rooster who got eaten by coyotes, started the Great Coyote War, who is the propaganda rooster. And those have been around for a long time. You remember, he would cock-a-doodle-doo during the show to try to interrupt the truth saying, try to spread some chicken rooster propaganda. And you'll notice the propaganda rooster artwork shows up all the time on various pieces of artwork or T-shirts or supply drop stuff. So, anyways, we got a new propaganda rooster, and I think there's some, I don't know, there may be some metaphor in there that the new propaganda rooster is not like the old propaganda rooster, and perhaps is not like any rooster we've ever seen. It is this sort of Frankenstein patchwork of different kinds of roosters put together to create an entirely different, entirely new and unexpected propaganda rooster, which I think, you look around metaphorically, you look around at the propaganda situation we have in the world today. It's not your normal mainstream media propaganda rooster. We have this patchwork of direct tweets from the president and politicians combating with mainstream media, combating with independent media, both on the conservative and on the liberal side. And they're all coming together to create some big new propaganda rooster that is louder, that is closer, and is more confusing to look at than any other propaganda rooster we've had. So there you go. There's a start. Think about that. Think about that this year. That's 2026 propaganda rooster, like nothing we've ever seen before. And so we must keep this in mind, and we must dial in our sound gates on our podcasting equipment to the perfect tone to block out the new propaganda rooster. Okay, I see live listenership going down the more I talk about roosters, so we're going to get into it and take some callers. Remember, call in, hit that link, yada, yada, yada. We got a few people in the background. We're going to say hi, starting with the early bird himself, Sir Darren, out of the Hungry Panda. Let's bring him up on stage. Sir Darren, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Basil.
What's going on?
Hey, speaking of chickens, I did work one time for a company where I had to make this big sign with all these different little baby chicks that went on it.
Uh-huh.
And I learned that some baby chicks are actually, their names are trademarked.
Oh.
Like the chicken itself is trademarked by companies.
Oh, like it's a special breed they developed or something?
Yeah. And I thought that was the most strangest thing when I learned that companies could trademark a chicken.
I have considered that with this particular rooster. I've not seen anything like it, and it did occur to me, like, have I created an entirely new form of rooster? And the best thing about creating a new form of rooster is that you have everything you need to create more of that crazy kind of chicken. So maybe that's my ultimate destiny. Maybe that's the retirement plan, is to breed a stronger, more powerful, more bizarre looking breed of chicken. I'm sure I don't know much about chicken royalties, but I'll look into it. That's good tip. Thanks, Sir Darren.
Yeah. But anyway, the thing I called about was, so I asked this question So after your show, I was watching the show after the episode aired yesterday, and I sent this question to Gons of like answer this question: if crypto is so valuable, if gold is so valuable, if any blank is so valuable, why do all the people want my USD for it?
Well, that's a good question. That is a good question. There's kind of a complicated, boring answer, I think. Number one, and that's that the people these days that you buy your gold or your Bitcoin from, you're usually buying it from an exchange who is sort of legally obligated to hold a pool of these things to facilitate. And these companies mostly make money on charging fees. And it kind of boils down to what a lot of things boil down to, at least as a part of it, is the transaction companies where like Visa or Coinbase or gold dealers or something, as a company, they actually make their money on the transaction fees. They don't even really care how much you're buying or how much you're not buying or what you're trading for, whatever.
Well,
So I imagine that's part of it.
so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, though, why are these companies, trading me, exchanging me assets like gold or crypto or any other, you know, thing, and saying, now please give me US dollars for it? Like
Yeah.
they would rather have the US dollars that I hold than have what they have. Like that's the part that makes me almost like scratch my head.
Just what's the word I'm looking for? Propagating the system, just keeping the system going, man. I mean, that is the thing with fiat, and we can kind of forget about this detail of it, but the value of fiat, pretty much all of it, from the very foundations of fiat currency, is not the amount of it that there is. I mean, this is obvious. This is why they print money as much as they want. This is why the amount of dollars in existence barely matters to the real, foundational pieces of the system. So it's not the amount of the dollars, it's the movement of the dollars.
Yeah.
At the very least, they're just facilitating the movement of the dollars. And if dollars stop moving, kind of on a fundamental level, if dollars stop moving at all, then all the dollars are worthless. This is kind of the Fed's obsession with either keeping dollars moving or keeping dollars not moving. But yeah, I know you're right. A big company like that is going to have a lot of vested interest in keeping the current system going. And so, yeah, in a way, they're kind of like this illusion if you're coming into crypto or coming into something saying this is going to destroy the system, the fact that the primary exchangers of that system are very concerned with keeping fiat moving and supporting that system, is a little bit of a flippy floppy.
Well, it is just interesting to me because, like, I'll always hear these people. I'm trying to think how to say it and how to phrase it. It's you've got people who are, they're like, okay, so like gold, they'll always be like, oh, this is a hedge against inflation, and I won't, go into that whether that is or isn't, because that's kind of a different theological take on it. But
Sure.
But when it's like, again, if this thing that they're trying to, exchange with me, like they're saying, yes, buy our gold or buy our whatever, now give me those US dollars, like or even just, oh, look, today the price of Bitcoin went up X amount, and it's always measured against the US dollar. And maybe that's just because we're American centric, and that's what we normally see. But it's kind of like, again, it's like everything in this whole world revolves around the US dollar. It's almost like, it just seems to me like, until something else really just says, and everyone agrees, right, that it is actually more valuable than the US dollar. It just seems like everything will always be measured against the US dollar.
Yeah.
And no one's going to want anything else except my US dollar in exchange for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good point. And again, that's kind of part of the dollar dominance, the sort of artificial. I think a lot of that is artificial, artificially through the petrodollar, through the sort of extortion of smaller countries with the United States government, through again the sort of military might and threat of the U.S. government. That's kind of what forces everybody in the world to focus on the dollar. But in the past couple of days, especially, people are asking this same question because of course, we hear the stock market's going crazy. And at the same time, we're hearing the dollar's collapsing. And you look at the stock market compared, priced in dollars, and it's super big. It's very high.
Mm-hmm.
But then gold comes in, and there's this whole gold craze. And suddenly, more now than ever, people are comparing the price of the stock market to the price of gold, and it's telling a totally different story. And you look at the price of the stock market priced in gold, and it's actually extremely low. Now, it's a lot of things. It's because gold is more valuable. It's also because the dollar is less valuable. It's also because people are kind of waking up to the problem of the fiat currency. And this has to do with, the Trump administration and the Fed and blah, 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 and everything. But no, I mean, you make a good observation. It kind of makes me kick myself a little bit because, of course, philosophically, we've always been gold bugs here. And
Mm-hmm.
what's happening now, we've said is going to happen forever. Now, of course, there's people who've been saying it for longer than us, since the 70s. But, percentage of my lifetime, I have spent more percent of my life being pro-gold, anti-fiat. And here I am with, I'll just say, meager actionable results to show.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying I'm against owning gold or I'm against owning anything, because I mean, I was back in like the 90s as a child telling my parents, hey, you guys should probably buy some gold for like long-term savings. And if they had listened to me, they would probably be multi-millionaires right now or some crazy thing. At least today, with the price it is today. I don't know. But my point really, what I was really sort of getting at is, again, it's like, I feel like a lot of people too, like when they look at like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin's going through the roof and we're going to be rich, or, or gold is through the roof, we're going to be rich. It's like, what are you thinking you're going to exchange it for though? It's like everyone still seems that they want to exchange it back to US dollars. That's what makes me scratch my head a little.
Yeah. Well, there'll be something. I mean, I think that's kind of the thing. Now, of course, this year I'm setting my own optimistic tone with every existential narrative that comes out, and the stakes are going to be higher than ever, et cetera, et cetera. Now I am feeling optimistic that the worst case scenario in each of these, narratives is not going to happen. So in this case, the worst case scenario is the dollar completely dies. The foreign countries stop trading in dollars. Oil companies stop trading in dollars. The dollar becomes worthless and goes the way of Argentina. I don't think that's going to happen, given the given the incentives of the system. The dollar is not going away, but I think there is an interesting opportunity to kind of shift the system. And we know that, again, and you got to take this all back to the stablecoin thing too. I think the stablecoin, they're hoping the whole stablecoin thing is what comes in, and if not necessarily save the dollar, save the system that runs the dollar.
Yeah, I think that's my other thing too, is it's like a lot of people are, it kind of reminds me of how everyone says, if we stop paying income tax, to the federal government, then they wouldn't be able to force all of us to do it. But we're all going to still do it. That's the problem. And I feel like this US dollar thing is, all of us are sitting here wishing and praying that we could get something new, or like use Bitcoin or use gold as the new thing. But it seems like at the end of the day, it's always going to be something pushed by the U.S. government. Now, it might be a different stable coin for sure, but all they have to do is drop a few nukes and then, okay, everybody's back on the dollar. Because, right? I mean, look at how it went for, what was it, Iran or Iraq or what's his name? Tried to get off the dollar.
Yeah, Saddam Hussein tried to get off the dollar. Gaddafi in Libya tried to get off the dollar. Yeah, things don't go well for you.
No.
You get off the dollar. Not to mention Maduro in Venezuela was getting off the dollar. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's wild, man. And for me, especially for people who maybe are a little bit more read up on it than the average person, but not like an expert like myself. You know, I am certainly not an expert, but is probably more read up than most people. I feel like I'm in the type of position to get way too worried about this, to get way too hyped up, get way too, you know, catastrophizing things like that. And so maybe that's part of the sort of vibe shift that God's given me this year. It's like, you are just right dead smack in the middle of whatever metrics that would make someone really lose their mind in a situation like this. And so by the grace of God and the Holy Spirit, you know, having to really seek this, I guess, alternative stance and faith that the worst possible scenario is not the one we're going to end up with. And, you know, it's really, to a degree, past performance is the best indicator of, you know, future whatever. And with all of these existential narratives, every single one for the past 5-10 years, which have been truly existential narratives, has not resulted in the worst possible scenario. So I'm taking just a little bit of peace.
One other thing really fast. I don't have to go deep into it, but I don't know what. This is another crazy thing that's going on, is this whole narrative right now with the Second Amendment. I mean, I did not have on my bingo card the left defending the Second Amendment.
Right.
2026. I mean, I'm not shocked by anything now, but that was very interesting to see. And I kind of just, I don't know, there's something about it where I feel like there's a weird Hegelian dialectic game being played right now, where I feel like, you know, libertarians especially are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe conservatives are just throwing away their Second Amendment so easily right now. And, you know, the left is like, haha, trolling, like, how dare you guys said you were for the Second Amendment and all that. But I feel like there's just something more here. And again, it kind of goes back to like how you were saying, we might want to just think about everything that's being told to us first and say, is this trying to manipulate me right now?
Yeah, totally.
Because that's what it seems like. And that's the reason I bring up the whole thing about the gold and the money and everything, because it feels like so much of it is like a manipulation of like, do this or do that. And that's what they're trying to do.
The goal is always the reaction. With any sort of wonky thing going on in the world, you know, we see it with the protests, we saw it with Black Lives Matter, we saw it with everything. The goal is not to win. The goal is the overreaction of your opponent. And whether this is correct or not, or whether this is of any comfort to anybody, I have been watching I guess just the broad meta of the Second Amendment argument going on right now. And it feels like a lot of it is kind of fake. I'm seeing a lot of mostly leftists saying, I thought you loved the Second Amendment. You don't love the Second Amendment. You blah, blah, blah. You're such hypocrites, right? I know that they're out there, but on X, you really got to question everything and every person and even every trend you see. In my personal one-on-one experience, I'm really not finding any conservative who's saying really anything anti-Second Amendment, what it feels like is conservatives are saying, hey, look, if you're into guns, if you have your concealed carry permit, you know that the second you start fighting with cops, or really even the second you start interacting with cops, you've chosen to up the stakes, which is okay, but just know you have created a bad situation, so stay away. You know, you
Well, I
get
mean, if you're a
W.
CCW holder, you know the second you brandish your weapon, you've upped the stakes.
The second you do anything, you up the
Yeah.
stakes. Even talking to if you talk to a cop, and the
Well,
first
not even cops, like just people.
oh, of course, yeah, you pull your gun at all, you're making a huge decision, right? And that's something the left doesn't really understand, because the left just got into guns, and we saw it with, you know, trans army, you know, trans armed people, trans gun clubs. You know, we got to defend ourselves because they're trying to put us in camps or whatever. So they all started getting into guns about a year or two ago, and it's interesting. We kind of followed that trend for a little bit. So it's not out of nowhere, but the left in general is very, very young to the Second Amendment gun thing, right? And so you can consider them almost like teenagers who don't have a lot of experience. The right in general are people who've been into guns for a much longer time. They have their CCWs, you know, they do, most of them do it for the right reason. Most of them are not getting CCWs so they can go fight cops. You know, most of them are getting CCWs for the right reasons, right? And so the right is a little bit more mature when it comes to true Second Amendment rights, you know, which there has to be a lot of respect that comes with concealed carry or with just Second Amendment in general. There's a lot of personal responsibility. There's a lot of, you know, if you like illusion that I get from that we all get from the left a lot is they will be like, oh, all these Republicans just shooting their guns in the air. You know, they said that about I think they said that about the Trump assassination attempt. One of the first things they
Yeah.
came out and said was like, that was probably just a Republican shooting his gun into the air.
They said it was a celebration. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, look, you literally talk to any, I would put money on 100% of conservative gun owners would tell you, you know, that it takes a lot of respect to own them. It takes a lot of respect to carry them. You just don't mess around with guns at all. You mess around with them in no ways do you mess around with them. And that comes from a long, long history of being very serious about the Second Amendment, about being responsible citizens. You know, that's part of the thing about having guns. It's part of your citizenship responsibility. And, you know, this whole thing. But the broader portion of the left who are very new to guns, very new to owning them, very new to carrying them, they're just kind of still not very mature in that.
Well,
And I think there's an up. I for sure think whoever's funding, whoever's controlling the messaging, whoever's being the influence to get the left into guns, I think they want it. You know, they want them to kind of be in this irresponsible headspace.
well, and there's also this weird thing with the, like I said, like I mentioned, it's kind of like the libertarians who, again, would say, you know, if we all stop paying our taxes, the government couldn't do. There's been this like, you know, sort of pushback there too of like, oh, the conservatives are all now just because, you know, Trump doesn't like guns, so now the conservatives don't like guns.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's kind of interesting where it's like they're calling out a little bit of this hypocrisy, which I agree that some on that right side have hypocrisy for sure, but there's something weird at play where, you know, you got the very far left is all in lockstep like they tend to be, pushing one narrative, and then there's like almost this divisive narrative that's going on. But I feel as if there's something where it's like, don't, like, I don't know how to say it, and I don't really know what it is, but I just keep getting this feeling like, don't take the bait. Whatever this bait is,
totally.
just don't take it, because it's
Yeah.
being dangled out there like a carrot. even for us to like defend and say, well, actually, according to such and the Constitution, like it's just not, something's weird about it. Something's
It's
fishy.
totally weird. And like I said, most of the comments I see about Trump not liking guns or whatever, it's totally out of context, out of proportion. You know, he said a comment about basically saying you shouldn't be bringing guns to protest, which you're allowed to carry a gun in protest, but we all know what these people are doing is not protesting. That's kind of the thing. So he should have said, you know, you don't bring a gun to obstruct law enforcement, or you don't bring a gun to get in a fight. I mean, even if you're just getting in a fight with anybody and you're carrying a gun, you are instantly more culpable and responsible because you're holding the gun. So anyways, this narrative that there's like a huge part of the right who's like anti-gun, I don't even really think that's true, I guess is my thing. I think that's a meta on the broad scale. I don't think it's really true. You know, maybe with bot farms and ex influencers and overseas accounts and whatever, it seems like a pretty made up's not the most elegant word I want to use, but you know, it's a real crafted narrative and almost explicitly just a narrative. I have not had personal one-on-one contact with any conservative who has really anything to say besides, yeah, it's really bad. He really should not have gotten into these confrontations while carrying a gun. It's just, anybody knows it. He had a CCW. He should have known it. He had a CCW. He probably did know it and chose to do it anyways. And, you know, they're getting into this guy's background and his parents, you know, talking about how he's been all weird and he just got a divorce. The guy's in a bad place. He knew he shouldn't have been carrying a gun and fighting cops. He knew it, but he chose to do it. And it's more sad because he's probably all worked up. He's probably, you know, being told a lot of things that aren't true. You know, whoever's controlling that side of the puppet show is like telling people to put their bodies on the line and risk their lives. You know, these are what these people are getting. And especially a newly divorced guy who has nothing but go on the internet all day to do. You know, it's just sad. He was.
Well, but that's the part too, even that I feel like is sort of part of this op of like, oh, let's look at this guy. Let's try to dissect him. Let's try to figure out why, you know, he should have known better, or
frame by frame.
And I just feel like, again, it's like it's really moving us to what they really want us talking and debating over, rather than what we should be looking at. Like, basically, I'll just sort of say what I'm thinking is they're trying to take away the guns because that's kind of like the last step they need.
Of course.
And this is kind of like their play in that. And so it's somehow they're, and that's why I feel like we need to be more resolute and not like fall into like the he said, she said, or debating if this person was in the right or in the wrong, or were the police in the right or the wrong. That's something that's they're really trying to get us to debate over and argue, because that's what they need. They need us paying attention to that, because something else is more important right now. And it is so vital that we just look over here, look at the magician over here. Don't want to pay attention to over there where I'm doing something else. And we all know Trump is the magician. That's what he does. That's what he's doing. So that's my 2 cents.
Nope, I agree. I think you're totally right, buddy. Thanks for calling in and talking it out with us. Because
thank you.
As much as we're all kind of watching it go by, it's better to have a conversation about it in a safe space like this. So great talking to you, buddy. Hope you call in again, Sir Darren.
Bye.
Peace. Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's another part of where I'm at in general this year. I don't need to fight about this guy. I don't need to go frame by frame on the video. I don't even need to dive into the whole thing. It's very simple. And to make it any more simple than it is just playing into the hands of whatever, like Sir Darren said, the distraction. Okay, we got another caller right here. Here we go. We got, who's this? Faye. Faye is coming on stage. What's going on, Faye? How are you?
Hey, Baz, long time no see.
Yeah, how are you, Faye, future lady of the Frozen Chosen? That's fun. Working
You
on your
know,
game.
well, let's just say I'm on my 4th calendar.
Okay.
So I should have called in for a knighting probably a year ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think with the supply drop, I think it's a 3-year project. So yeah, go ahead, send your name over, or I mean, heck, even give it to me now. I'll write it down.
Yeah. Okay, so I have been wanting to call in for a few weeks because I'm actually in Minneapolis,
Oh,
right outside Minneapolis. And I yeah, the perspective of the Minnesotan is basically, and I don't know if this is even right or left. I think the Minnesotans are kind of coming together. Uh, but it's looking at history, they don't want to be the Germans who looked the other way when their neighbors were hauled off.
mhm,
That's the perspective.
right.
And the people that are being hauled away are not going to go like sheep. But also the thing that I'm picking up on is people don't realize um, there's a realist, a vanilla white Nordic real estate agent from Woodbury that I follow. And one day his wife gets on and says her husband got picked up and was, taken in his entertainment. Now he got out 10 hours later, but they don't care who they get because they have quotas. And the reason why they picked him up was because saw their car, he started following them and filming them.
Uh-huh.
So the next thing he knows, 5 vehicles are around him. They pull him out, throw him on the ground, give him road rash all over his face. So the next time we saw him, he was all messed up. So they don't care who they pick up, and that's the thing. Because
Well,
I
that doesn't
see
sound like
everybody
a
going, "Oh, you don't want those illegal criminals around here." They're not picking up illegal criminals.
just
My
can I
high school's
understand
yeah.
something real quick? Can I understand something? So you're saying he got picked up for not for being potentially illegal, or they thought he was illegal. He got picked up for following them around and kind of participating in the sort of, I don't know, organized defense or organized intimidation of the feds or something.
Well, yeah, and he insists that he wasn't, impeding anything. He was
Mhm.
behind them, he was at a safe distance, they just noticed he was following them.
Yeah.
And the thing is the things Minnesotans are being very careful to stay legal while they're doing their, annoyance tactics.
Mhm.
Yes, they wanna be annoying, but people are getting together at churches and meetups, and they're on signal groups like, "How do we annoy these people and make our voices known, but stay legal?" And
Mhm.
also, they know that if somebody gets violent, the first question they ask are they from here? Does anyone know this person? Were there out of state plates?
Uh-huh.
So they're kinda hip to the fact that there's paid agitators, infiltrating the ranks.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, yeah, that's certainly and it's interesting. It's tough. It's really tough because right now is much different than a couple months ago. With the release of the signal groups, I'm sure you see the signal gate thing
Yeah.
where, they're organized dispatch, the manuals that were there, the funding documents, the manuals that showed you how to, avoid arrest and get physical with cops and this kind of stuff. You know, ever since the signal gate, where it's become clear, or at least apparent, that there is a significantly large, um, I guess, organized effort that kind of surpasses, kind of like you say, people are trying to pay attention to it, surpasses just like a group of neighborhood people who want to help, and is kind of taken to the level of organized anti federal law enforcement sort of, I mean, I don't know what to call it, revolution or
They're
so,
going on in tandem. because the neighborhoods are definitely looking out for each other too.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's that stuff. So, which is probably the, George Soros paid agitators, whatever. But I promise you, if a liberal Minnesotan or, if violence escalates and they say it was a Minnesotan that shot a gun at somebody, I'm not gonna believe it because they're not. I think there's a reason they came to Minnesota to escalate the ICE effort because we're not people who are violent. And they're like pushing us and pushing us and pushing us. They want us to get violent. And so far, they haven't taken the bait. I don't think. They're doing a lot of annoying stuff. They know they're doing a lot of annoying stuff, but they're not getting illegal.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen.
Yeah, I guess I hear you. I think maybe what makes right now a little different is considering that the Signal Group allegedly had, Minnesota political figures in it. There was.
Well, we know about political figures, don't
Yeah,
we?
right. So I guess when I say it's different today than it was a couple weeks ago, because these tactics like following cars around, documenting their license plates, even things like simply blow a whistle. It's tough because I think a lot of people now, knowing the level of organization, can see there's a logical, there's a train of logic that people are following to say, even if you are following around with intent to intimidate, or if not intimidate, follow around with intent to alert everybody, but presumably whatever the target of ICE. The idea is to blow a whistle. So if there's anybody around who might be targeted by ICE, knows to run. I again, if I'm speaking just from a legal perspective, I could see how as the heat rises, as the organization is revealed, that some people could consider blowing a whistle to alert what they would call a criminal, and this is the tough part. There's a lot of people talking about swooping up citizens and sending them out. Nobody wants that. There's a lot of talk about
it's illegal and they're doing it. They're
well,
going to get lawsuits.
So here's the thing. Coming from a guy who is not there and just analyzing the broad spectrum of whether it's social media meta, whether it's mainstream media meta, things like that. What everybody wants outside of Minnesota, what everybody agreed and voted for was for specifically illegal immigrants who have committed crimes. Now, forget talking about coming in illegal as being a crime. That's a totally different thing. But those who, commit real crimes, violent crimes, these types of things. And it's undeniable, nobody can deny that there does exist illegal immigrants who have committed crimes that separates them from the abuela who came here 30 years ago, right? We can all agree on that. And most people in support of ICE are under the impression that when Minnesotans or whoever, paid people, whatever, whistleblowers, people blowing whistles and blocking cars and stuff, when they're out there blowing the whistle, that they are alerting real, actual criminals that law enforcement is around.
It's the wheat and the tares, man.
Yeah,
it's
so a lot of people see that as sort of direct defense of maybe criminals that we would all agree, need to be, come to justice in one way or another. And people don't see that happening.
They camped outside my kid's high school yesterday. I got a text message that they went on lockdown yesterday. So, people blowing whistles in, the suburb where my kid's high school is, I don't think you're alerting criminals. They're sitting outside a high school. Yes, they are taking the abuelos. They're taking so we got somebody fact check this, but I just saw someone break down each ICE agent, in order to get their bonus, has to arrest 8 people a day, or detain 8
Yeah.
people a day every day for the term of their contract, and they
Uh,
get $10,000 a year
That's a
until they
lot of
receive.
people. I don't even know
That's
how
a lot of
one
people.
person could even do that. That's a hard day's work,
You
I'll tell you what.
you can't do that if you're just going after people with MS-13 tattoos on them, which is really the people that we want. Because if you got an MS-13
Yeah.
tattoo, you're that guy needs to go.
Yeah.
Uh, but
One thing that I hope, actually, I don't think enough people are talking about this part, because especially with what we've seen recently with Trump pulling out, what's his name? Not Bongino, pulling out whoever the head of ICE
yeah,
was,
that guy. Yep.
Greg something. Somebody in the chat remind me of that guy's name. So, he's got pulled out. Trump allegedly, like he always does, had a great call with Waltz, had a great call with Fry, pulled out Greg, sent in Tom Homan. The messaging is, hey, we don't want the crazy stuff either. And when at least the message that came from the White House, that came from Trump, and was confirmed by Waltz and Fry was, hey, look, we want to pull out. We don't like the violence either. We don't like the craziness, but you got to agree to give us the actual criminals, the criminal ones that are currently in jail, the ones that get arrested and then released. You got to, participate with us. And this is a very new development. And I'm not sure if this development has really sort of made it to everybody, because, of course, everybody's kind of in their own bubble on both sides. So it takes a while for some analysis like this to really trickle in. But the message coming out of the White House is, okay, look, we don't want to escalate things. We want to de-escalate. We'll pull out the guy everybody hates. We'll commit to pulling out agents, but you got to give us those who everybody really voted to get, which is the criminals, the gang members, the murderers, et cetera, et cetera. And that was apparently the agreement in this phased sort of pull out thing. However it is on the ground right now, we know these things don't
You
take
give
place
them an
right
inch.
away. So we don't know how it is right away. Of course, these things, happen in phases. However, what do you think if Waltz came out and if Fry came out and said, okay, we've agreed, we're going to hand over the criminals out of the jail system. We're not going to let people back out on the street when they get arrested for committing crimes. We're going to work with ICE to pick these people up from detention and do what ICE does. I have a hard time imagining that would be enough to, I mean, you tell me, is that something that your neighbors would be like, okay, good. We don't want the abuelas getting taken. We don't want the high schools to be involved. We're okay with just the actual criminals going on their way, getting handed over to ICE.
Well, then we'd have to, I mean, if they're okay, so living life now versus living life before ICE came, we'd rather have that and the criminals, and then figure out how to get the criminals some other way. I don't know. But
I guess
because
that's
as
my question.
Americans, I had to go over with my husband and my son what they say, because they're brown and they're just picking up brown people. So, we basically, they just want ICE out. That's all. I don't know what else. And then also a lot of people have come to realize that the criminals are running our state. And
That's
this
true.
is kind of a distraction from that. Walls, and everybody knows Frey ruined Minneapolis. Everybody knows it. They hate him. Everybody hates him.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting to hear from you, because we actually don't hear a lot about that from Minnesotans. And part of it is probably because of this big ICE distraction that we actually don't hear a lot of comments about Waltz and Fry from actual Minnesotans. So I understand ICE totally out would be preferred. But do you think there is a compromise where ICE is not on the streets anymore? If they have a direct criminal either in custody or being let out of custody or coming out of the courts or whatever, that ICE is just there, maybe not even wearing tactical gear or rifles. Maybe they're just in like a regular uniform to escort the criminal out of the courthouse into a car, and
See,
then dealing with them immigration. Because
this is
this is the tough part. This is I can see this being a really tough part for people who, myself, really want Minnesotans to get the relief they want. I want you and the rest of your neighbors to be able to say, okay, good. We don't have ICE on the streets. There's not a war zone. I don't like the war zone, whether it's, protesters or organized or whatever. But if there has to be some sort of compromise that would be okay. And when I ask this question, what my hope is, well, let me take that back. My hope, there's no hope involved. Hope's not the right word. But my goal, I guess, for asking this question is to hear if even a compromise is possible at all. Because without compromise, I don't think things are going to end up good. That nobody wants, like you say, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But it feels like a good compromise would be, okay, ICE is off the streets, but local law enforcement says, hey, we have a murderer. He's illegal. Come get him. Do your thing, ICE. That seems like a pretty rational compromise. And I fear that if a pretty rational compromise like that is impossible, I fear that there might be no way out of it. Does that resonate with you at all? How does that?
Yes, because this goes back years. And we all were putting pieces together after George Floyd and COVID of what this big of what they're doing. They started dismantling the police after George Floyd, and they didn't just do it in the city. They did it in my town outside the city. They did it like police started quitting, and Minneapolis dismantled their police. So now it's set up, like, to answer your question, if we had police, they could take care of that. And they're trained to give everybody due process, which everybody should get. Now they're being overloaded, so people can't even get due process. They have to wait and wait in detention centers to get their court date. Because they're just picking up so many people. But anyways, so I'm a Constitution person. I don't consider myself right or left. I just, Constitution. But in Chicago, they did this too, because I was friends with a Chicago cop, and they made working conditions so horrendous for those guys that like suicide is a problem in the Chicago PD. Like,
Yeah.
police are casualties. They're just, we can't rely on them anymore. Whereas 5-6 years ago, we could have called the police and they would have dealt with, but now that's not an option anymore. So like things have been slowly dismantled. The mayor has slowly destroyed the city. The city council is completely unreliable. Like, the only thing, in the big picture, it's Trump the chaos magician is working his chaos, and this thing is going to go the way it's going to go. And the only thing we can do is turn to God. Like, that is the only thing we can do.
That is true. That is all true. And just let me return to the question. If there was a compromise where ICE was off the streets, but local law enforcement cooperated with criminals in detention, would that be enough to settle things down amongst the Minnesota citizens?
I think so. And that's funny because it's like the shifting of the Overton window, because the Democrats probably would go along with that if we could just get ICE out, because the problem has been the Democrats with all of that. But now I think they would go for that. At least the people.
Yeah, well, allegedly Waltz and Fry are going for that. That's allegedly
Okay.
the deal. That's
Well, did you hear we got the National Guard?
Yeah. In their yellow vests there.
they brought our people coffee and donuts.
I
It was
know,
really
we
sweet
saw that. We
looking. Yeah.
we showed that on the show, very
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Well, one thing you can say about Waltz is he has never been slow to call the National Guard. And this is one thing that people with long memories, find kind of funny about Waltz is he was the guy who created a tip line to rat on your neighbors during COVID. He's the guy who deployed National Guard, martial law in the streets to shoot beanbags at people sitting on their porches, and pepper balls for people sitting out in lawn chairs during COVID. So it's funny that he kind of gives this impression that he's just so against the National Guard. He's very into it. Now here's a question. It sounds like you and many other Minnesotans agree that Waltz and Fry are huge problems, that they are responsible for a lot of the atmosphere, a lot of the, I guess, setup, administrative setup. And admittedly, they're responsible for a lot of the messaging that has people kind of riled up, right?
Oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to Walls because now nobody is on him about the Somali situation. This
Yeah,
is
well,
great for him.
so that's the thing. I mean, I hear you say a lot of things that we get, that I hear Waltz and Fry saying a lot, and that is kind of the emotional narrative of they're picking up just anybody. If you have brown skin, if you're walking down the street, if you this and that, it sounds, to be honest, and not to say I doubt your experience, if you have experienced this, it sounds like COVID messaging. It sounds like COVID, leaders wielding their messaging power to put their citizens in a state of mind that would cause a reaction. We talk about the problem, reaction, solution. We talk about the goal being the reaction. And I question, just in the process of broad analysis, if whether seeing as how Waltz and Fry, who nobody likes, nobody trusts, seem to be propagating the very narratives that are causing the reaction in many Minnesotans to kind of take a militant stance, to start blocking roadways, to start getting rough with police, to start breaking stuff, breaking buildings, breaking into hotels, ransacking hotels. That kind of messaging starts from the top. And so for me, an outsider, if I see a guy who is known for being dishonest, for being a liar, who's currently, it's been revealed he's been causing or participating in fraud for billions of dollars for a long time, if he's the guy who made the tip line, just his history, untrustworthy guy. And then we see him now putting out the narratives that is causing a violent reaction in the people, or at least causing people to put themselves in really dangerous situations. If I'm just following the reactionary benefit, you said yourself, the one guy who's benefiting from all of this is Waltz. So could Waltz be guilty of maybe putting out messaging and narratives to get the reaction that protects him?
Yes, absolutely. So just to put out there, because maybe it is going from the top down, but to put out there, any Governor Waltz speeches or propaganda or whatever he's doing, like, I'm not following it. I know what he says because you guys report on it. Like, that's the main way I hear about what he's saying. So I try to stay as boots to the ground as possible with the information that I'm getting. So like I said, I got a text message from my school that they're on lockdown. I got, I saw this there's a guy on Instagram, he's got like 5,000 followers, but he's a guy who just goes around the city and reports stuff. Well, he's been down by the protests lately, so I've been paying attention to him. And like that real estate agent. His whole page is nothing but real estate. And then his wife pops up there because he got zapped. Like, so I'm trying to, talk to neighbors, talk to people around here, get the vibe from people around here. I don't watch any news outlets.
Yeah. I mean,
But
presumably they're getting a lot of their messaging from Waltz and
sure.
Ron
So
as
it's
well.
kind of weird that it's weird to hear you say that what I'm saying lines up with what they're saying, because that is a little bit freaky.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's almost word for word. Sorry, that's very interesting insight. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
but yeah, this I didn't even want to talk about this today. I wanted to talk about like the whole crazy Mike Winger thing, but that can be for another time.
Well, we can talk about whatever you want.
Well, I saw you put humility up on the your title for
Yeah.
today. And I was wondering if you were talking about the Bethel apology. And I know you guys don't get into church stuff too much, but this is a different show.
Oh, yeah. You
And
know,
so being that you and I grew up in the same crazy corner of the kingdom, I wanted to hear how you're processing through all that.
That's very funny you ask, because I actually have no idea what that is. I
Okay.
have not heard anything. So you can give me my first intro to what's going on.
Well, basically the mess is hitting the fan with all of these prophets who have been in our circles and in our space. The most recent one was Todd White, that guy with the crazy dreadlocks.
Yeah.
And Sean Bowl, this podcaster or YouTuber called Mike Winger, who is known for answering theological questions. That's his show. Suddenly, victims of these false prophets have been starting to come to him, and he's trying to give them a voice. Anyway, dude does a 5-hour expose on one of these prophets, and he points a finger directly at Bethel Church because they platformed him. And and when it came to light, all the bad stuff that he was doing, and we're talking about, misconduct stuff, data mining, he's just not a good dude.
Who
They
got
never,
who, Todd White?
Sean Bowles.
Sean Boltz. Yeah. Okay. You mean for so when you say data mining, you mean, so he's a guy who, I don't know if we say famous, but his thing as a prophet is that he can sort of do prophet stuff, pick somebody out of a crowd, tell them things that nobody else could know, tell them whatever he thinks God is trying to tell them. And I've actually been in many. It's very interesting because, yeah, we came from the same place. It's a fairly small thing. I've actually met all these guys, not in passing. I mean, sorry, not closely. I'm not friends with them, but I've been in these rooms when these guys do what they do. So Sean Boltz, I know it was maybe about 5 years ago or something. He got busted for using Facebook to locate people who were at the event and then going through their Facebook and then kind of using that information to make them think that God was talking to him about them, right? Is that what you mean? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Just
And
for
a lot of
anybody who needs
people,
background.
there you go. And if anybody wants a lot of background, Mike Winger did a 5-hour video on that, bro. Just with receipts and people coming forward. So anyway, he had some bad, inappropriate conduct towards his coworkers too, and they came forward. And all of this stuff was put at the feet of Bethel leadership, and Bethel leadership decided to just work behind the scenes, but never tell anybody, "Hey, this guy is not a real prophet." He's and he said things to people that were really damaging, and all those people are coming out of the woodwork, not to mention his victims. So
just so I can understand, because I'm not up to date on what this stuff is, and I don't know if some of these things are new, or if Mike Winger is kind of just going over the history.
He just dropped his video that went over the history.
Okay, so it's kind of a broad history kind of thing. Okay. Just for my, it doesn't even matter. Continue. I'll look into the details if I need to. I'm just kind of curious, are we talking about like criminal allegations or inappropriate
with
conduct?
the assault stuff, with
Mhm.
the misbehavior, yes. I don't wanna say anything
Yeah,
bad
no, I
about the
just wanna
show.
know if we're dealing with, yeah, actual criminal
Now
behavior or something else.
the Todd White stuff, um, he's just a narcissist. I don't think there's anything criminal per se. He's just really a narcissist and abusive, and honestly, I've worked in, like, a bunch of different churches. He sounds like half the pastors I ever served with.
Yeah, right.
So, I'm like, "Okay, they they could probably settle down over there because he's just a narcissist that people believe in."
Uh-huh.
But the problem is they want to exhort church leaders to not platform false prophets. And
Mhm.
so Todd White has been caught lying a lot. Um, that's the big thing. So anyway, they called the end of the story is Mike Winger has been calling on Bethel leadership and other churches to deplatform these guys publicly and
Mhm.
apologize to the victims. And no one would do it, no one would do it, no one would do it. And suddenly out of the blue last Sunday, um one of the leaders at Bethel, well, all of them did a big ol' apology, and nobody saw that coming, and
Yeah,
so that's what, when I saw humility on there, I was like, "Wow, this church leadership really humbled themselves," but,
yeah.
what's being revealed is there's kind of a whole with the Kansas City, IHOP stuff, the New Apostolic Reformation stuff, like, there's a cabal of leaders that goes all the way back to the Four Square days that just have dirt on each other, and so what Mike Winger has been calling this is, cover-up culture. Is that what it is? Cover-up culture. That the senior pastors and, kind of celebrities in the church are just covering up each other's, very bad sins and keep on promoting each other,
Uh-huh.
and, um yeah, so it's, that's
Well,
the summary.
yeah, it's kinda on one hand, my immediate reaction is, it's kind of a tale as old as time. So, not to say that, trying to defend anybody or anything, but this has been a big problem in the church for, I mean, heck, if you wanna get into it, hundreds or maybe even 1,000 years. But Bethel coming out and sort of repenting and apologizing, I just in my immediate reaction would consider that a pretty big deal. And maybe
I think it was a big deal because 'cause I've never heard
coming,
anything like it.
yeah, kind of come into Jesus moments. And of course, these things with a big organization like this, the pessimistic view, which might be the right view, is that an organization and its leadership would only come out and do that if they were left with no other options. Now,
Well, yeah.
the optimistic view is, hey, maybe they're doing the right thing. Maybe they could have kept on doing it and they said, you know what, this isn't right. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's end this, end this legacy that we have. Because it has been many years that these allegations have been around, finally ending the legacy, seeing the lights and trying to do what's right. That's the optimistic view. Um, but yeah, that's sort of my immediate reactions, I guess.
Yeah, particularly in this, corner of the kingdom, it's the prophetic, gifting, "I'm the prophet, you can't argue with me," and they're wielding this authority as apostles and prophets, and there's no checks and balances.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and that is just a natural side effect of fame. And these guys, they really are famous in their own way, in their own. I mean, it's kind of funny. Um, I met Sean Bolts way before he was sort of big in the scene, I guess, before he was a senior pastor or anything, before he was kind of, who he was. I had met him long ago, and he actually even prophesied in, me, on me, at me, whatever. and it seemed pretty normal. He didn't tell me anything that only God could have known or anything, but it was kind of your basic for those who haven't been in sort of a prophetic service or something. God loves you, God's watching you, God has big plans for you, God, kind of your basics. That, I mean, I don't know why any prophet bothers with trying to fake anything, because essentially all you got to say is God loves you, he's got a plan for your life, and boom, that's it. People's tears start flowing. But anyways, so I met him way back then. So it's really trippy, actually, to even the fact that he became some huge thing. But it's truly, there are no humans immune from the negative side effects of fame. And part of that is being unable, because really what it is it's sort of an inability to withstand criticism, or to withstand, somebody, whatever, doubting you, or, it's really this weakness and fail. It's the humanness of the prophet sort of showing itself. Now, I know to a lot of people, even calling somebody a prophet is like a huge red flag. I just don't have a different name for it. Let's say church celebrity or something.
Right.
So, part of me, look, has a lot of forgiveness for lots of things. If something criminal happens, that needs to get taken care of in the justice system, and I hope it does. But like I said before, if Bethel, I haven't watched it, but if what you're saying is true and Bethel came out and said, this is it, we're done, we apologize, this is wrong, I think that's going to go a long way for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, it did my heart good seeing them respond to it. And honestly, I think they responded to it the way they did. And God uses what he uses. But I, one of them preached a sermon where he kind of was defending himself, and then he woke up the next day to a firestorm of comments and emails. And then he said he had a come to Jesus moment where he had to acknowledge the victims and acknowledge the people that were hurt because they platformed somebody.
Yeah.
And he seemed so genuine. It was yeah, it was nice. So like I said, I've never seen a church leader do that.
Was
Like
this Bill? Who was this?
Chris
Valentin.
Valentin. Yeah.
Chris Valentin. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Well, they
good.
both apologized, but Chris's was very convincing.
Yeah, good. I was trying to remember if Chris had any specific allegations. I don't really remember, but yeah, that's the thing. Chris and Bill are both pretty likable guys, unless you're watching sort of, I guess, a Bill and Chris exposed YouTube video, and then you start going, okay, well, I don't know, maybe not so much, but they're pretty likable guys. I hope so. I hope this brings healing to the body. I hope it brings healing to Bethel. I hope it brings healing to everybody kind of in that scene. I hope it causes a lot of people to get right. Certainly, as there always is, there's going to be a lot of people embarrassed about how they protected someone or responded or something. And, those embarrassing moments, as much as the world likes to pounce on that and destroy people for that, those are really times of healing, coming face to face, having the scales taken off your eyes. And I hope it's nothing but good for everybody in that, and also in the church, Big C church as a whole, because it's really funny growing up in that scene, and then kind of like how the world as a whole, the whole secular world, has full carte blanche license to say the meanest possible things about Christians, and not just get in trouble or feel guilty, but be celebrated for being mean to Christians or saying something nasty about Christ, right? In the same way the secular world is encouraged to attack Christianity, it feels like in Christianity, they're all rewarded and encouraged to say bad things about, Bethel, or I guess they call it the New Apostolic Reformation, which is funny because I don't know about you, but when we were in that scene, nobody called it that. That's kind of the name that the outsiders.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Mormons. Mormons don't call themselves Mormons. They're the Latter-day Saints. And you just say a Mormon, like, are you Mormon? They go, no, we're not. That doesn't mean anything. Anyways, so not only do I hope it brings healing in that specific scene, but I hope it helps the rest of the body, and maybe heal a relationship between other Christians and NAR people, because I've felt the hate, even though I'm not even really in that scene anymore, but I don't despise my past at all. You can feel a lot of hate from other Christians when you start talking about, gifts of the Spirit in modern day or something like that.
Well, right, and, the cessationist camp,
Yeah.
they're like, "See, this is why we took this route. This is why we're here," and, it's easy to throw out the baby with the bathwater,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. Well, amen. Thank you so much for calling in today. I had a lot of fun chatting. I would love to talk to you more about, whatever's going on in Minnesota. If you want to call in again next Thursday, hopefully we'll be going the same time. But if you had any other sort of last words, let me know. Otherwise, I really appreciate you calling.
No, it's, time to make the tater tot hot dish, don't you know?
Ooh, doggy. All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of your night, I suppose. And I'll talk to you next time, Faye.
Okay, see you, Baz.
God bless. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Faye, for calling in about all those things. First of all, really nice to talk to a Minnesotan about what's going on. Very interesting to hear about, kind of the flow. And I on a scientific level, okay, hear me right. On a scientific level, I consider it part of my job to be really interested, not in just information, but the flow of information, where information comes from, where it's received, the routes that it takes through different parts of culture. And we have really dug in recently on the sort of independent media industry and how we need to be as skeptical about independent media or maybe just X accounts or whatever, because it can feel like the information coming out of the independent media or coming out of whatever X accounts that we trust, we can feel that that is a more organic set of information, right? Because maybe we're not directly paying attention to mainstream media or politicians or something like that, so we get it filtered through this thing, and it can give us the impression that like it's more organic and that we're coming to our own conclusion. And this is something that we deal with all the time. I think this is a situation that we are all in, and an interesting moment for me. And I don't mean to talk about Faye while she's not on the air. I hope she understands that. I hope everybody else understands that. But it was a learning moment for me when she was talking about, she's mostly getting her information from her neighbors, from her, local residents, social media and stuff like that. And not knowing that those are the same things coming from leadership, Waltz and Fry. I think should be something we should all pay a lot of attention to, or at least, again, in the spirit of humility. This is why we try as much as we can to take the information from everywhere. Because if we just built a show on what we saw on X, or built a show on just what we saw on mainstream, or built a show on just what we heard from the mouths of whatever, the PR people in the government or something, it's much less about whether the information we're getting is true or not, although that's really important, but kind of knowing the the biology of that ecosystem, knowing what information comes from where gets filtered through an X account or gets filtered through a podcast. If you're getting a message from a podcast and it feels like it's organic to that podcast, and we don't know what their source for that information is, it can leave out a little bit of our mental map about the information that we're receiving. And of course, we trust our neighbors. We trust the people in our lives, the people close to us. We're much more likely, and this is just fact of the matter, we're much more likely to align ourselves with the information coming from the people right next to us, which is good. That's a good survival mechanism. That's a good reason to, be choosy with who you surround yourself with. But it's also a good opportunity to then go, why do they think this? Where are my neighbors getting this information? Because sometimes, that can help us sort of track, like we're ocean biologists tracking the migratory patterns of whales or something. You see a whale off the coast of California and you say, California has whales. But if you didn't track that whale came from Japan and came all the way up across Russia and Alaska and came down, you're getting just a piece of that story. There's a whale in California. So that's something for everybody. Thank you again, Faye, for such a productive conversation. All right. We've got another caller coming in here. It is Mr. B. More Busker. Haven't talked to him in a while. Let's see what's going on with B. More Busker. What's up, buddy? How are you? Oh, your microphone is muted, I can see. Can I unmute it? Nope, you have to unmute it. All right, I'll give you a couple seconds.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I figured I'd have to mute it when you had other people up or something, so I had it muted.
Yeah, no worries. If I don't put you up on stage, then you're not bothering anybody.
I just didn't know if you could hear it.
No worries. What's up, buddy? Haven't talked to you in a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while. My dad passed in December, mid-December.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, buddy.
Yeah, and my mom in August, so that's like 4.5 months apart, I think. And it is what it is, man. I guess I took it better than I thought I would. But I remember grieving for them long before they died. It's really weird. Like, I don't know, maybe because I'm older. Because I remember when I was younger, I used to think, oh man, like if anything bad could happen and, they're not healthy or whatever. And so I'm glad I'm 46 at this point. If I was younger, I think I'd probably have a meltdown.
Yeah. I know that feeling though. I think that's you're actually kind of the first person who's said this that I kind of resonate with. And of course, parents is a totally other situation. So God bless. We're going to be praying for you. That can grief is a weird thing.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
But I kind of felt the same way with my grandfather, who very sadly died a couple of years ago. And when he did die, I had the same experience. I mean, it's extremely, extremely sad and I was very grieved about this. He was a very important guy in my life. But there was this feeling of like, I've already grieved this guy. There's not a whole lot more tears. There's not a whole, that kind of thing. And yeah, I think I had been grieving him for a couple of years because he was so old. Now it's, he was old. He was like 100 years old. So
wow.
By the time they get to like 95, I think you just start grieving at 95 because it can happen at any moment. But yeah, no, I totally know the feeling, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like that's very similar. And then like the thing that I had some crying moments and I had emotional moments, no doubt. And the thing that gets me, man, is like I'll wake up and I'll just think, oh yeah, I can't. I hear something maybe on my television, and I can't wait to tell they're gone. It's like one or the other, like something to relate to my dad or to my mom, and I think, well, yeah, she would love that. Oh no,
Yeah.
make it
Yeah,
happen.
the remembering that they're gone in moments where it almost feels like you
Yeah,
either
yeah.
forgot or something like that. You kinda can relive that a couple times.
It kind of like just it's like my mind is blank while that thought just enters my head for a split second, and for a split second, it's just like, oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
It like a split second later. I'm talking like a split second. That's all it takes, and but it's just like it a little bit stomach unsettling sometimes, but not too often.
Yeah.
But yeah, on Saturday, I'm doing my friend Liz from Australia is doing a give send go for me because I'm going through some financial straits because my father died and we have to somehow get a trust going, and I don't know how I'm gonna get that.
For inheritance purposes or
Yeah, like a trust fund. For me, I guess because I'm disabled and I'm living alone, and I even though I do get about almost a grand a month from SSDI, or SSDI plus SSI. I finally have almost reached a grand. It took so long.
that's crazy, dude.
Yeah. Um, and the prices are, oh my God, groceries are so expensive. And
Yeah.
if I don't want to buy the great value, the signature select, that's all junk, man.
Yeah, it's just poison.
Garbage. Yeah,
Poison hiding everywhere for sure.
absolutely, man. Um, anyway, Liz asked me to share this Give Send Go link.
Okay, do it. If you put it in the private chat, then I can put it into the real chat here. I don't think it lets other people put links into the comments. Yeah, I mean, well, what a good friend, Liz, you have there. That's great. Now, remind me, did you live with your dad? I remember you talking about your dad before. Oh, you're muted again. Maybe it's because you went off the screen to go get that link and bring it back.
I'm so sorry about that. I'm
No
sorry.
worries.
Yes, I have the Give Send Go link, but we're also doing a stream on Saturday night on my Be More Busker channel that I've had since 2008. But only as of 2023 have I been doing panels or anything like this.
Yeah, what are you doing on your YouTube there? What is it called? Be More Busker?
Yeah, well, it's not it's spelled with BMOREBUSKER, but it's all one word. If you put a space in it, it'll send you to my whatever
Oh,
that.
that's just your other one. Oh, I see. Oh, there you go. Yeah, okay. You got 1.3 thousand subscribers. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm glad to it. I mean, like, it took that long. I've been on there since 2008.
Oh yeah, it's brutal.
All right, so in the private chat, there we go. It's a big long link.
Yeah. So what's that's weird. Why is it so long? I'll figure it out. So what's your stream? What are you doing on your stream?
Well, I guess we're gonna talk about music and maybe play some stuff from my channel, and maybe add his name is this dude that's gonna help me out with getting stuff together. Yeah, so my friend Ad is gonna join us too. He's from Holland and he moved to Canada, and he plays Johnny Ramone style punk rock guitar, and he took all of my videos with my dad, like that were any good, and he put himself in the video and put the music over and remixed it so fucking off. Excuse my language.
It's
So
okay.
freaking well. And just the marriage of Cajun accordion and punk rock guitar, I always imagine that because I started out playing punk rock. It's like I've come full circle. But Be More Busker, I guess I could drop a link to the channel.
I got it. In fact, I accidentally just posted in the chat, Be More Busker's YouTube channel. And then where'd you go? He goes, you see, he starts going other places, starts clicking around, he disappears here. So that's okay. He'll be back. But I am putting the YouTube channel. Which one did I put in here? buymecoffee.com. Okay. So wait, what is going on here? There's so many different links. Okay. Here's the Give Send Go in the chat. There he is. I'm going to bring him back on stage.
Sorry about that.
There you go. No, that's okay. I got the link there. That's interesting. I have a Give Send Go and a buymeacoffee.com. Are those two separate things?
Well, I don't know why that's in there. That's weird.
Why do I have that? I was putting together links and where did I get this one from? I don't even know where I got this from. There he goes again. Be More Busker. You gotta stop opening other windows, buddy. Don't worry. I got it. I'll get the links, my friend. I'll do the links. I am in the metaverse. Here we go.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, man. All I have to do is hover over this touchpad, and somehow, if I go over something, it'll take me to something else. This laptop is done.
Yeah, I know how it is, man. Touchpad.
Anyway, I'll give you a link to my Be More Busker channel, so you don't have to go.
I got it. The YouTube. I got the YouTube channel. It's in the chat now for people to click on. So go subscribe there. He's going to do some cool streams. And we did the Give Send Go a little bit up there too for people.
Yeah, Saturday night, around I guess 9 Eastern Standard. But you have to. I don't know if you it took me a long time to realize there was a live section that's different than your videos.
Yes.
Like it took me a while to get used to. I don't know why. But.
Yeah, well, that's the part. Well, it's tough for us too, because you go to Canary Cry News Talk YouTube channel, and we have like 5 videos on there. You have to click the live section to get to our 1,000 live streams. But
exactly, dude. It's like nobody can really see the live videos unless they're subbed or unless they look for them, right?
They just they gotta know to hit the live thing, which a lot of people don't. It's a big problem.
Exactly. And they also, I mean, like as far as subs go, like it took me a while to figure out, you got to click the bell and click on all to get all notifications, because otherwise YouTube does not want to give it out.
No, they don't. And even if they turn on the bell, then YouTube still decides who they want to send it to. But anywho. Yeah, man. Well,
it was good to talk, and thanks for having me up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, buddy. We'll be praying for you.
I appreciate that too.
Good luck on your stream, and I hope people go check out your YouTube channel. And if they got anything in them, go over to the Give Send Go there and help out a brother in Christ.
I appreciate it, man. Oh crap, have we gone?
No, we're here.
Oh crap,
we're still here.
It's weird, man. Like I hover, this laptop is done, man. This is from like 2016, and it has a CD-ROM drive that just like makes a lot of noise.
Yeah. Well, we'll be praying for the Lord to bring you another laptop, because you need your laptop to do streams, man.
Dude. I definitely, it's a refurbished 2016 junk. Anyway, I'll talk to you later, man. See ya.
All right, buddy. Peace out. Yeah, my laptop is a 2016 as well. Now, luckily, I mostly only use that laptop when I'm on the road and do a stream on the road, but that's basically all it's good for. It can run for about 2 hours and then it gives out, so I understand. Okay, we got one more caller sitting in here in the waiting room. Let's bring him up. It is Sir James, Knight and Servant of the Lion of Judah. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for calling in.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
All right. Sorry, you sound a little bit soft on my end. A little low.
Crank it up. Crank up that volume, bro.
Yeah, I'm on to my phone right now. I can't seem to crank it up any higher.
I get it.
But no, the reason why I called a couple of things, just trying to figure things out, like what's happening right now. And I've been given some thoughts to what's happening with the situation in the world. And it seems to me, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think I am.
Give it to me.
Is that this whole thing with this, you're familiar with predictive programming and what that is, that what it was called the revelation of the method?
Yep.
Which is predictive programming, right?
They are certainly related, yeah.
This weird universal law that they have to tell you what they're going to do because it absolves them from any wrongdoing that they are about to do to.
Yeah, or sort of eternal consequences or something, or earthly consequences, right?
Right. So I don't quite understand that whole.
It's to create consent is what they do. They create consent by telling you what they're going to do, and if you don't push back, then that's inherently giving consent to what they're doing.
So is it similar to the idea of the vampire? You gotta let the vampire in.
Got to invite them in. Yeah, very similar.
Okay, so that's what I thought. So there must be some sort of unwritten rule in the heavens when it comes to this, that they, or at least as far as in their minds. And the only thing I could think of, it must tie into their idea of personal righteousness. You've heard that term where Masons think that they're personally righteous.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's very. It's also very Luciferian. Even the non-deity believing Satanists will say that the personal autonomy, personal righteousness is the wholeness of the law. Yeah.
So, anyways, I got to thinking about this whole thing, and with the times we're in now, with the technology being what it is, and I'm blown away, because it's like I'm literally, if I'm understanding everything correctly, I'm literally seeing Bible prophecy literally being fulfilled right before my eyes.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing with the artificial intelligence and what that is. And just recently, which you guys revealed on the latest Canary news talk show, which was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
We're just, I mean, if that's what that's about, the image of the beast, if that's what that is, and that's exactly what I think that is.
Yeah, well, it's funny because that's even what the Silicon Valley people think it is. Peter Thiel, and also the non-Christians in Silicon Valley, when they're told about the Antichrist, in the Revelations 13 and 18, they go, "Oh yeah, that is what we're doing."
But here's the thing: Jesus Christ said, when his people asked him, tell us when the time, the signs of your coming and the end of the world, right? And he said, "Be not deceived." More emphasis was put on that more than anything else.
Yeah.
And we also know that if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived.
Yeah.
Now, to me, from everything that's happening right now, that could be taking many different forms right now. With this idea of this new world order, you got this recent guy who, it was really bizarre how it was Carney from Canada,
Yeah.
who literally slowly said it out. And the only thing I can think of, Basil, is that we are being set up for some sort of massive deception.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm talking, let me get this idea. So, what if this supposed new world order that we've been told about, that we've been predicted programmed about? I used to watch wrestling back in the day. And if you ever watched WCW with the whole thing with Hulk Hogan and his whole weird thing where he went through, like, he wore this black shirt with NWO spray painted on it. That was many, many, many decades. That was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
That's funny.
But anyways, this idea and the fact that, well, let's even on the thing with Hulk Hogan, he shows up at Trump's rally. He shows up at, correct me if I'm wrong. No, he didn't show up at that, right? No, he showed up at Trump's rally, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. My mind serves me right. Did he also show up at Charlie Kirk's memorial?
It's possible. I mean, he showed up at a few of those big, I think maybe he had passed by Charlie Kirk's memorial, but he was definitely showing up at all the big events there for a while.
Okay, so the only reason why I mention any of this is because I think that this supposed new world order that we've been presented with ever since the famous line from Bush Sr. When he did that State of the Union address. I wonder if the enemy that we're seeing is been created by the enemy, so that a hero can come in and save mankind from that enemy.
Yeah, well, some people kind of see Trump as being in that position with the place that the world was in, even just 2024. We had maxed out on all the craziness, maxed out on, the globalists, Davos, maxed out on AI and plans for biometrics and basically the entire sort of beast system. The technology had aligned with the political will, which had aligned with all sorts of other things, even the deceived masses just ready to beg for this thing. And then Trump comes along presenting an alleged alternate to save us from this crazy, nonsense that we were not only living under currently, but just saw growing before our eyes. And like in Revelation, the lawless one comes in and is actually a hero and saves the world from all of its issues, from all of the wars, from all of the whatever.
Right. And so you would think, well, then he's the Antichrist, right?
We've explored, at least if he's not the lawless one, then I'm sorry, the man of lawlessness, at least an antichrist. If we want to get very technical about it, is could be someone in the spirit of Antichrist, if not the actual man of lawlessness.
Okay, so my other question is, because I'm seeing other things developing right now, and it describes what the Antichrist, as far as what he shall honor a God that his fathers knew not, or I'm trying to remember exact verse again, but basically the God of forces. The God of forces is maybe a military, like kind of like a war god. And so we see this very obvious march to war. We see what recently took place in Japan with what's his name, the former prime minister who literally got assassinated right there in broad daylight.
Abe.
And then years later, his protege, first ever woman president,
Yeah.
steps in. So I did some digging to find out more about this woman. Found out she's with the Unification Church, or the Universal Church. It's the Moonies.
Right.
So she is right now, if people have been paying attention, she's, what do you call it? Dissolved that, whatever that body, the
Parliament. She dissolved the Japanese parliament, basically deleted the government, and is gonna put in a new government here in a few days.
well, she's basically trying to put in a war party. That's
Yeah,
what she's doing.
I
Kind
don't
of
know
like
about
what we
war
did.
party. Yeah.
Well, kind of like what we did, where we had the Department of Defense, and then we changed our Department of Defense to the Department of War.
Yeah.
The same thing's happening in Japan right now as we
Okay.
speak. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because it's interesting that I was looking up to find out, well, so what is this woman's religion? Like, what is she? And I found out something interesting that I didn't know about. You keep hearing about, in our country, Christian nationalism, right?
Yep.
So over there in Japan, they have a thing called Shinto nationalism. And Shinto is basically remembering your war, like your ancestors from your warriors from your ancestors. It's like,
yeah, it's like a form of, it's a mix between like Zen and ancestor worship.
Yeah, but what's really weird about it is specifically about war heroes.
Okay,
it seems, and it's like, okay, so then we know that the Antichrist, his God is a God of forces. His God, he worships a God of forces. And it got me thinking, what if, like what we're starting to see right now is this development of this, and I'm starting to think, what if, I mean, I know that the Bible specifically talks about the Antichrist being one person, right? And that there's 10 kings.
The man of lawlessness is one person. It's debated whether the quote unquote Antichrist is one person or is a spirit of Antichrist that several people take. Is, if we want to get technical about it, that's kind of the argument. But for the sake of, conversation, we can go with however you want to do it.
So I'm starting to see this weird, and I haven't made a connection yet, but I wonder, but the whole thing with the NAR 7 Mountain Mandate thing that's developing here, and then you have this thing developing in Japan with the Moonie, the Universal Church, and the same thing happening over in South Korea. Is this sort of like maybe that, like you mentioned, like the Antichrist spirit? So the Antichrist spirit flows through these things.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
And it seems to me as if maybe what we're about to see, of course, in the disguise of this world war, which may or may not happen soon, we're going to see, I think we're about to see a whole, I'll be honest with you, I think we're about to see a whole bunch of things. I think it's very possible that before this really, really gets ugly, that all of a sudden something comes from space.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
comes here and says, "Hey guys, we are your progenitors," and they show us proof of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been part of there's several sort of schools of thought that we've talked about for many years. One of them, the Great Deception, being the aliens come and everybody's, they tell everybody we're your creators, all your religions actually refer to us. And so world peace, yay. And then you can take that another layer deeper and get into Project Bluebeam, which is a government project to simulate aliens coming down and
Well,
everybody being able to see it.
I
There's
I
also
understand that, but
there's
ever
also
since I came across Timothy Albrino's work
Mhm,
and his book Birthright and the
sure.
fact of his testimony, according to Timothy Albrino, they don't need to fake an invasion.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we've talked to Tim several times. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's like these several schools of several situations that have some pretty interesting things lining up for any one of them. The one thing we do know, whether it is real aliens or whether it's blue beam or whether whoever comes from the sky, is going to be part of this great deception. And then there's the take that I forget who was this, but the idea is that they know Jesus is coming back. And so the governments are doing everything they can so when Jesus does come back and comes down from the sky, riding his white horse or with the angelic armies or whatever for Armageddon, that the government will have the sort of social engineering in place and technology in place to convince everybody that that's not actually Jesus. Those aren't actually angels, but those are aliens. And so we must go to war with these aliens coming
Wait,
down.
okay, but if we're looking at chronological order, supposed chronological order, right? You have the two witnesses.
Hmm.
The two witnesses are going to show up. Now, depending, I guess, on your idea of which your pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib. Me
Uh-huh.
personally, I consider myself pre-wrath.
Sure.
I kind of stick to the pre-wrath idea for a number of reasons. But I got a sneaking suspicion that whatever is about to happen, the Bible made it very clear if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived.
Yep. Of course.
And what really fascinates me is that, the pre-tribbers, I don't know how you can be. Seriously, I don't know how you can be pre-trib because I'm like, wait, okay, so let's just think about this for a minute. Why waste all that writing in the Bible to lay out all this detail for people who supposedly aren't going to be here when these events take place?
That's certainly one way to look at it. Yes, the pre, mid, or post trib conversation has been a staple of this genre for a very long time.
Well, the only reason why I even mention any of this right now is because we're at a moment in time of this, call it as what, according to what just this very beginning of this year, you had a very cryptic message come from Elon Musk. We have entered the singularity. That supposed singularity that we weren't supposed to enter until 2045.
Yeah. I don't recall him saying we are in the singularity. I know related to his simulation theory, he said we could already be in the singularity, but then it's also the question is which singularity. There's a couple different
Yeah.
definitions of
Yeah,
that.
right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so at least we've been told that it's the singularity is when man and machine will merge, right? And we
Yeah.
also know that the Bible mentions about, except for those days be shortened, no flesh would be left alive.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like what's happening is all this stuff is converging at the same time.
Oh yeah,
The
buddy.
World War, well, not only that, are you familiar with, I don't know if I talked to you last time, are you familiar with a man by the name of Leonard Ulrich?
Oh yeah. I think we actually interviewed Leonard Ulrich.
Well, he just came out with another video, and in it, he had a small snippet of his main work that he's doing called COVID-19 Beyond Human.
Yeah, I think you may have told us about this last
Well,
time
he's
he
coming
called
out
in.
with a new video called COVID-19 Beyond Human.
Okay,
That's his
great.
new project. But he mentioned something pretty startling in there, Basil. And he could be right. He broke down the cover of the Economist magazine,
Yep.
the latest one.
Yeah.
And
Classic.
now this isn't him speculating. He did some homework in this. He found out some things. If it's true, because of the dollar circulation being pretty much, like you said, the predominant currency in the world, that it seems as if what has about to take place, which is very insidious to me, is that when the dollar does collapse, it's going to be a domino effect, and it's going to affect every single nation that is attached
Of
to
course.
that dollar,
Yeah.
and their currencies are also going to fail.
Yeah.
Which brings about, just really funny that brings about a system that would come into place where you would have to take a mark, and without that mark, you won't be able to buy or sell.
Yeah, I think you're right on. Yeah, we had Leonard Ulrich on Canary Cry Radio episode 125, and that's kind of his take. That's his angle, is a lot of times is money. The interview we had with him was called The Illusion of Money for the book he wrote back then, or maybe it was a documentary. And yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing, we could get into all the weirdest things going on in the world and all the weirdest, but then you look at the economic situation, and again, it's part of this whole meta narrative, the chaos, the this, the that, the pillar that is the fiat dollar, the ancient God's money that is gold, and this battle we're seeing rip through the headlines today.
Yeah,
It
isn't that
was,
fascinating as well? Like, the Bible specifically says there's going to be a point in time where gold and silver will be thrown out in the streets.
yep, yeah, it's a whole thing, man. Yeah, well, I think you're onto something, man. I mean, just again, I think anybody who's paying attention to what's going on, that's of course, kind of our battle for a long time here. But I think 2026 is one of these times where, especially those of us who've been looking at it for many, many years and listening and reading and figuring it all out, we
There's
are
one
so
other thing I need to
spiritually
leave.
and emotionally prepared
Well, there's
that
one other
we
thing I
have
need to
the
leave with you.
1 second, let me just finish this, then you give me your
I'm
last thing.
sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. We're just so spiritually prepared and intellectually prepared, and the last key would be emotionally prepared for when we do see these things coming together like we do, that we've been waiting for so long.
Right.
That the best case scenario is that we are given the peace and the confidence and the endurance to even just make it through with our sanity, but hopefully with much more, in a way that believers are just not going to be prepared for. So I'm very pleased with the very strange, circuitous, intellectual and spiritual route that God has taken us on for so long, that when we come to this time, we are not kept in the dark about it like so many, but we're also not going to be blown by the winds of chaos like so many others. It's a very special position. All right,
So
you
this
said you had one last
brings
thing?
up an interesting thing, and I'm wondering, I'm trying to piece in together, is all this like all connected or not, with the weird incident that happened at the radio telescope several years ago with the guy that supposedly was caught with child porn on his laptop, and they shut down the telescope, and they also shut down the post office
Okay.
at the same time. And
Okay.
rumor that Black Hawk helicopters came supposedly dropping off soldiers.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's really weird. After that, it seems like everything like ramped up super fast. Like everything went from like this sort of like this slow, like the whole war on terror. We were in there for a while, right? And then this incident happened, and then everything just seemed like it just went. Like we got to COVID, then during COVID you had the AI and the robot thing just take off like that.
Yep.
I got a funny feeling whatever it is that man saw, he saw something coming.
Yeah, man.
He saw something coming. He was going to warn the world, and they shut him down.
That's the thing. That's the problem with seeing something that other people don't see. There's a lot of people who don't want you to talk about it. So, well, thank you so much for calling in and sharing with us, buddy. Appreciate all your insights and all your these organizations of these events is appreciated. I think there's a lot of people out there who are on board, see it coming, and now the real test begins, which is how we conduct ourselves during this next phase, however long this phase takes. It's really what we've been training for, buddy. It's what we've been training for.
I'll say this. I praise God that my sanity is still intact, that I've not allowed myself to be swayed by the dramas that are taking place.
Amen.
Because I understand that the dramas are taking place. These dramas are nothing but distractions.
That's right. That's right, buddy. Keep your eyes on Jesus, man. Really appreciate you calling in, buddy.
Yeah, thank you very much, and keep up this awesome ministry, like I said before. And I hope to make it to the Canary Cry meetup on February the 7th.
Hey, there you go. Make sure to make it. Everybody make sure to make the meetups. God bless you, buddy.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky. What is that? The February 8th one?
Yes.
That's right. Go to
yes,
CanaryCrimeMeetups.com to learn more.
Yeah, what was it called again?
I don't know what
I forgot the name of it.
The name of the meetup?
The one in Louisville, Kentucky. I have to look it up myself.
The Whirling Tiger. The Whirling Tiger, February 7th, 3 p.m. Saturday. Whirling Tiger, Louisville, Kentucky. You can get all the information and RSVP over there at CanaryCrimeMeetups.com.
I will be there. Thank you very much for this awesome ministry, Basil. Please
keep
up
buddy.
This awesome ministry.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see here. Looks like we got one more caller here. We're going to bring her on stage, say hi. She's going to help us land this plane. And it's our Russian handler. What's going on, Russian handler? How are you?
I'm good.
Glad to hear that.
I don't really have anything to say.
Well, that's okay. You don't need anything to say.
The conversation was all over the place today.
We covered a lot of topics today, but it's good to know that our handler is paying attention and she's listening. And, it's good to just touch base to know that operations are running smoothly.
So you say you choose to have an optimistic outlook.
I'm doing it, and I recommend you too, Russian handler. I know this is going to be hard for you. I think maybe you are the prime example. If you can have an optimistic outlook, anybody can. I really believe in you.
So how's the new year treating you?
So far, so good. Filled with sanity and keeping my eyes where they belong. And just remembering that as the existential crises keep building up, just got to remember that every generation has unending existential crises, and it's just time for another one. Well, it's, God will walk us through it. It's going to be great. And you especially, once this all finishes, you're going to be rich. You're going to be famous. You're going to no problems. It's going to be great. Believing that for you.
I don't know about that, but it's okay. I don't need to be rich. I don't need much.
Nobody needs to be rich, just like a icing on the cake. Are you staying warm? Is it cold where you are?
It is. Well, it depends. For me, it's not really cold, but
Yeah, well,
for
I was going
locals,
to
it
say,
probably is.
actually, Russian Handler, I noticed this the second you started speaking. On the scale of Russian Handler, you actually seem to be in an okay mood today. So maybe the
Isn't that
cold,
obvious?
it's I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad to sense that. Maybe it's the cold that has sort of brought you back to your element.
Maybe there's also been a lot of good things happening recently.
I'm
They're
so glad to
stressful,
hear that.
but they're ultimately good. And, I am having a little bit of hope. I mean, I'm jaded, man. I'm
Yeah,
just
well,
so
don't I
bitter,
know?
and I don't expect anything. Like, surprise me, prove me wrong. That's
Yeah,
prove me wrong. Um, but a lot of things have been coming together in the past almost 2 years now, and God's been good to us. A lot of things that I didn't even think were possible are happening,
wow,
and it's truly amazing.
that's incredible.
Yeah, if I
That's
got to
incredible.
say something, it's like people will fail, but God is always there. So don't look at people. They're people just like you. It doesn't matter if they somebody important, if they have leadership in the church, they're still people. I mean, if we're gonna talk about the whole thing with the
Yeah,
churches,
right.
there was a whole conspiracy going on in my Russian church way back in the day that all the leadership they're secretly KGB. And that's why
No way. That's
uh,
so
I don't
funny.
know how prevalent it was, but it made it to me, and I was really young back then. So if I heard about it, I'm sure it was.
That is hilarious.
Uh,
I mean, it's
so
possible.
America's infiltrated. Everybody's KGB.
I know. What was that
So
guy's name? Yuri
I
Bezmenov?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, he's the guy in the 80s who, after the Soviets fell, he fled to the United States and told us all the secret plans of the KGB to bring down America through
Oh,
social engineering.
maybe.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, but let me tell you, people will fail, but God is good. And when church body does what church body is supposed to do, I mean, forget about the building. When church body does what it's supposed to do, it's a truly amazing thing to witness.
Amen. Amen. I'm so glad to hear this, Russian Handler. I think there's something to say. Of course, I've been the annoying guy choosing to be optimistic this year, and I think people get it. I think it's what the body needs right now. I think it's a great way to stay sane and to stay expectant of God doing amazing things. And I'm telling you, if the Russian Handler can have a little bit of hope right now, then anybody can. So you're a great influence on the rest of the Canarium.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad because I know we've been praying for you. I know the producers have been praying for you. And, last couple times we talked, doesn't sound like things were, getting any better. But hey, you still called in. You still made it happen. I think for me personally, it is an excellent testimony to God and what he's doing on earth. Even just to hear from you that things are looking up and there's a little bit of hope. That's 2026, baby. That's the 2026 for the Canarium. We're getting back to hope.
And hope shall not. How did that verse go? I don't have my. Oh, I remember in Russian. I don't remember in English.
Oh, you can say it in Russian if you want. That'll be good. You'll trigger some of our sleeper cells.
I have to make sure that it's right though, because
I'm looking it up too. I got to make sure because I know the one you're talking about, but I don't want to mess it up.
Romans 5:5 maybe.
Let's check it out. Romans 5:5. A little bit of Bible study here.
Oh, it's hope.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Надежда не постижает.
And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. That's the New International Version. Of course, somebody's going to get mad out there. We got to read the King James Version, or else I'm going to be a KGB agent. KJV. Here you go, KJV people. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, which is given unto us. Booyah. Roman 5:5. You may have just set the tone here. That's the scriptural tone for 2026 around here. I'm going to write it down. Romans 5:5. There you go. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Russian Handler. I don't want to keep you any longer than your patience will allow, but if you had anything else to say to the Canarium, now would be a good time to do it.
No, it's all good.
Sure.
I'm in a good mood and I don't want to ruin it.
I love it. I love it. You've got a real sense for these things, Russian Handler. God bless you. Very happy to hear the news, and we'll be continuing to pray for you. And I hope that this is inspiration to other Canarians out there, and I think it will be.
Okay.
Okay. God bless you, Russian Handler. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay.
There you go. See, folks, we're riding the vibe, man. That's the vibe for 2026. That's what we're doing around here. We are way too aware of all the things, which is good. And being aware and attentive, not just to Scripture, not just to the Holy Ghost, not just to current events and biblical prophecy taking place. We have not spent this long building a mental model of what this age would look like to let it get us down, okay? Romans 5:5, and hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, which is given unto us. That's it, folks. That's what we're doing. That is the optimism that we are choosing. And when we choose things, things happen. It's just kind of the way the world works. Now, here's the thing. If you haven't done it yet, you should take out your phone, text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. You say, why would I do that? Well, when you text the word Canary to 877-740-3226, you'll start getting text messages from me just before we go live for CCNT or Canary Cry Clubhouse. And so you won't miss a show unless you want to, unless you can't not miss a show. But at least it won't be the fault of YouTube or Rumble or whatever. Fun part is you can text us back at that number. Let us know how you're doing. You got anything important to tell us, you can text it to us there. I read them all. Sometimes I read them on the show. Here's one. This is from, who's this from? Oh, Judd the Atheist. Here you go. Judd the Atheist here. Deep in enemy territory in Minneapolis. Another Minneapolis person. Judd the Atheist in Minneapolis. Let's get the boots on the ground here. This ICE drama all ramped up after Leering Center, and all that ramped up after Somali fraud, all started with seemingly impossible levels of new autism cases at clinics all over the state. Yes, that's right. The series of events that we've seen here. Very interesting that it does connect to autism, because a lot of these fake, these fraudulent businesses, what a huge portion of them were for autism care centers. And because all the fraudulent businesses were reporting and getting funding for, per autism student, the autism numbers were enormous in Minneapolis. Interesting detail. I wonder what other things, are involved in that. But he continues, I posit it's worth noticing if the influx of new students, meaning vaccine requirements, oh, that's interesting, led to real cases that needed to be covered by a very shiny orange man related distraction. Oh, that brings it to another level. All the autism centers, if they weren't completely fraudulent, that they needed them for all the new autistic patients. Very interesting. Somalis and other minorities and bystanders are trying to live in the area, become the scapegoat again. People are dying because oligarchs wield the press and government and corporations all in concert. Well, that is true. That's something we can all agree on. People are dying because oligarchs wield the press and government and corporations all in concert. Thank you very much, Judd the Atheist. Glad you're still tuning in, buddy. Appreciate you listening or watching. 406 texted and says, it's stupid to, quote, annoy ICE. Imagine if I came to your workplace just to annoy you and stop you from doing your job. You're asking for trouble. Protest correctly. Don't go to war with the government. That's not at all what we as Christians should do. Yeah, it's weird. I could never imagine myself getting in my car to chase around federal law enforcement, blowing whistles at them. I'm not even necessarily criticizing people who do this, but here's what I do. I imagine myself getting in my car, following federal law enforcement around, blowing whistles at them. With what I know, with the set of information that I have, and you guys know me, I've taken pretty much all the information. That's what the analysis is all about. So with all the information that I have and all the sources that I know that this information comes from, I could not currently see myself driving around chasing law enforcement with a whistle. So then I ask myself, what information would I need to have that would make me chase law enforcement around with a whistle? Okay? Because people are doing it, and they either have more information than me, or they have less information than me, or something. Maybe it's not even just information. Maybe there's incentives involved. Maybe there's whatever. But this is an exercise for all of us. And I recommend people try this exercise out. Try it with different situations, okay? Whatever's going on in your life, somebody's doing something you don't understand. This is just a way to help process or help analyze the situation. What information would I need to have or not have to get in my car, chase around federal law enforcement with a whistle? I'm trying really hard here. Hold on. Well, I would need to believe truly that it was an existential threat. I would need to believe that if I did not follow around law enforcement with a whistle, that it would, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of another way to talk about it. I can't even think of something specific. I would just need to be under the impression that chasing around law enforcement with a whistle is the last option, I guess. That there was no other option. I mean, it's such a drastic thing. For me, that's such a drastic move, putting myself in precarious situations. It's really asking for a lot of trouble. I mean, I think we can agree with that. I think people going out with the whistles know that they're asking for a lot of trouble. I'm not gonna insult them by thinking that they don't know they're putting themselves in danger. I think they know that. Maybe they don't, but maybe they do. I don't think it's about having more information. I don't think there's any more information that I could have to make me do that. Now, from what we know, I have no idea. I couldn't do it. I really want to try to practice putting myself in somebody else's shoes here. If anybody has any ideas in the chat, let me know. Okay, let's reverse engineer it. What do I want to accomplish? What goal do I think is realistic? 'Cause that's another thing, let's talk about, I think it kind of goes, see, I don't want to pick any fights that I don't need to pick here, but there's a certain pride or something like pride. Maybe it's not pride. Maybe it's something like ego. Maybe it's something like that, okay? Not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, to be under the impression that me chasing around law enforcement, blowing a whistle, would have a positive long-term effect on the world. Because they blow the whistle to warn people around them that the police are coming, or maybe just to annoy the cops, annoy ICE. I don't think they think that blowing the whistle is going to chase ICE away. Maybe they do think that. Maybe they think they're going to scare ICE out of town by blowing the whistle. I think it's to alert people so that it makes ICE impossible to do their job. All right, there we go. We're reverse engineering it. But there's a certain, I don't actually believe that. I don't believe that blowing a whistle is going to actually have an effect. But I would. Okay, let me put myself in the, okay. I now believe that blowing a whistle is going to stop ICE from doing whatever they're doing. That still doesn't account for the danger that I would be putting myself in. There would need to be, maybe I don't, okay, sorry, I don't mean to ramble here, but let's try to work through this. In the video of Renee Good, the wife of Renee Good, maybe it was a different video, but I think it was in the video. I think it was in some aftermath. Renee Good's wife screams, "Why did you have real bullets in the gun?" So she didn't think that ICE had real bullets in the gun. So now, if I think that ICE doesn't have real bullets, why do I think that? I don't know. Somebody must have told her that. I don't know how you come to that conclusion. Somehow, somebody told her that ICE wouldn't have real bullets in their gun. Now, somebody makes a good point. Your mom over on YouTube says, Baz, I'll just add this. Minnesotans don't see ICE as legitimate. It is what it is. They do respect police. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, sure. We'll talk about ICE. Thank you for that. But I think you point out something good. They don't think ICE is legitimate. So maybe somebody is giving them the impression, and they are, because they say this a lot, that ICE isn't law enforcement, which I don't know who's telling them this or what I don't know why they're so sure of this. There's nothing about ICE that would suggest that they're not real law enforcement. And I'm sure somebody would argue with me, but it's just the facts. Just the facts of the matter is that they are federal law enforcement. They enforce federal laws. But somebody has convinced some of these people that ICE is not legitimate law enforcement, which maybe gives them the impression that they wouldn't have real bullets. Okay, so if somebody told me that ICE wasn't real law enforcement, I will note both Governor Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, the mayor, have both said on the podium that ICE is not legitimate law enforcement. So here I go. I get from Walz and Frey, ICE is not legitimate. Maybe somebody tells me, or I just come to the conclusion that ICE doesn't have real bullets, just going off of what Renee's wife said in the video. Why do you have real bullets? So now if I think that ICE isn't actual law enforcement and that they don't have real bullets, now I'm maybe coming a little closer to blowing a whistle. But it does blow my mind, though. Like, what simulation? There's some real simulation going on here, some illusion. That somebody can be so convinced that ICE is not real law enforcement, so they don't have real bullets, so that there's no threat in chasing them around blowing whistles. I think that has to be it. Because I can't think I'm going to get shot, although we've now seen a couple of times that that is not true. So then, there you go. I don't know, man. I'm trying. I am trying. Let me see if chat has any ideas. Let's see here. Here we go. Sir Darren's given us some stuff here. Okay, he says person switch. Pretend that you're someone you respect and ask yourself what you'd do if you were able to swap bodies with the other person for a day. Okay, we're having some other fun games here. Information switch. Suppose that you have all the information you need to find a solution. What would that knowledge be, and how would your circumstances change? Yeah, these are all very good things to ask ourselves. Function switch. Imagine that you can change any component in the system within which you're experiencing a restriction. That's a fun one. Yeah, I mean, God bless. I'm trying real hard. It's really hard to understand some of the choices we're seeing. And trying to simulate the information, or maybe the lack of information, that would lead myself to do that is really more difficult than I thought it was going to be, folks. Honestly, when I started doing this on the air, I thought this might be a little bit more. I thought maybe we could get there. I'm not getting there. I'm having a hard time doing it. And then to do it with a gun in my waistband, honestly, it's tough. It seems unimaginable. And I actually want to say this to anybody who's a listener in Minneapolis, because what I want is to try to understand you. I want to try to understand somebody on the ground, getting the information that they're getting and making the choices that they're making. The only thing, and so please call in and let me know if I'm missing something, but so far, there is no realm in which I could see making that choice being a good choice for anybody. Now, on top of that, I do want to be sensitive, because I think it's interesting that most of this comes from the people on the ground, and that's the social aspect. Much like we saw in COVID, you know, specifically, much like we saw in Minneapolis in COVID, where Tim Walz fired up the rat on your neighbor thing. And we saw when it came to vaccines, when it came to social distancing, when it came to everything COVID, what played a huge role, again, in people making decisions that I could never see myself making, was the social pressure aspect. If every person around you says that not only do you need to do something, but you are a bad person, that you are subhuman. Just remember, think of vaccines. The social, people got vaccinated just because their family would disown them, their friends wouldn't let them hang out, they couldn't go to Thanksgiving dinner, they'd be totally socially ostracized. So I think maybe it's not an information thing. I think it's a social contagion. Because that's one thing that can totally shut off the sort of decision making aspect is when the social pressures are so high, then it's the social kind of hive mind, the social pressures that make the decision for you. I would say most people who got vaccinated did it because they just didn't want to think about it. They didn't have the information. They didn't want the information. They just don't want people to hate them. They just want to be able to go to a restaurant. Whatever. I don't care. I'll just do it. I'll keep my job. The social pressure is really what warps the decision-making process for so many people. It does for all of us. I remember being in high school. How many bad decisions do you make just because your social peers, you didn't want them to think you were a nerd, or you didn't want them to think you're a narc, or you didn't want them to. The social pressures override the information aspect of all this stuff. So if I can't find sort of logical pathway to chasing around law enforcement with a whistle, the social aspect has to be a huge part of it. Because the social, again, back to where you get your information, if you're only getting your information from other people who are going out and blowing the whistle, and they say you're a bad person if you don't blow the whistle, or they say you'll be like the Nazis if you don't blow the whistle, don't look the other way. Don't, that's very serious social pressure. You don't want your neighbors to think that you're complicit with the Nazis. This has to be a big part of it. And if you see the number of videos, the astronomical, this is not a small phenomenon. This is a vast phenomenon of liberals, primarily, literally calling to arm themselves, and it's time to fight. They say, this is it. There's nothing else left to do. Get your gun, show up, show them you mean business. Just endless videos of people saying, again, if you're not complicit with the Nazis, you'll get a gun and you'll go fight. I think we're seeing extraordinary similarities. I think you can point this out in a lot of craziness, because God bless them. I really am not meaning to be mean or offensive to any of our Minneapolis callers. And I hope they call in, and I want to talk to you, and I bless you. And I don't even want to change your mind. I just want to learn more about what that means, what's going on. Yeah, I think that's that. I don't know what else to say about that. Thank you for sticking with me while I live on the air go through the process of trying to analyze this. I think this is a way we can help try to understand other people's decisions, because they're so foreign. I mean, that's the crazy thing. And that's, helps me not get too wrapped up in it, because we're seeing people make choices that are just unthinkable. I'm not even saying they're like evil. I just mean, it would never occur to me. I don't know what set of circumstances would need to exist, especially knowing the things. I believe Faye when she says that most Minneapolis people don't like Walter Fry and think he's a crook and think that all this is a distraction. I saw some comments from some people in the chat and a couple of text messages saying that this is actually Trump helping Waltz, which maybe. Although, if he wanted to help Waltz, he could just not have the DOJ go after him. He could just, I don't know, maybe. But I think that's actually why Trump is taking the step back. There's a lot of conversation about right now, people trying to say, oh, Trump was defeated. He's pulling out. He gave up. He acquiesced to Waltz and Fry. He lost. So he's pulling ICE out. He is pulling out Bovino. Tom Homan's just like cover to go talk. There's a lot of that. A lot of people, But I don't know. I don't think so. If anything, it's possible Trump pulling out of this situation, saying, okay, this is too hot. Plus, all of this hotness is distracting from Waltz's crimes and Fry's crimes. So Trump pulling out and saying, okay, we're going to take a step back, would actually bring down the temperature so that attention can be put back on Waltz and Fry. I think it's interesting if there are Minneapolis people who have not heard yet that Trump is pulling out. I thought that was pretty big news. Maybe it's not as big news as I thought. But maybe there's some Minneapolis people who don't know that Trump is pulling out, that he took Bovino out, that he's getting ICE off the streets. He's trying to make a deal, to have exchange of prisoners, basically, to keep getting real criminals out. Because, and then I ask, why wouldn't Minneapolis people hear this? Well, if they're getting all their information from other Minneapolis people, and I'm assuming most Minneapolis people are getting their info either from signal groups that are run by Minnesota politicians. People from Waltz's office are the ones running these highly organized signal groups. Somebody with access to the state license plate database is giving civilians access to a state level secure database. And if this is where a lot of Minneapolis people are getting their information, or they're getting it from Waltz itself, it would benefit Waltz for Minneapolis people to not know that Trump is stepping back. I don't know. I think that's something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe none of that is happening. I hope people understand. If there's any more Minneapolis people, I hope you understand. I'm actually just trying to understand. It's very hard to understand. I think there's a lot of people that are having a lot of trouble understanding. And I hope, if anything, what we need in this world is people to understand each other a little bit more. Okay. I think we're going to cut it right around here. We're at 2 hours, 45 minutes. We did have a caller did jump into the background, and now the caller's gone. Okay. I don't know if that caller... The reason I would stop and see if we want to talk to one more caller was if it was a Minneapolis person or somebody with something that could help us with this topic at hand. So we'll see if they come in the next few seconds. They might. Maybe it was an accident. Okay. But like I said, text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Send me a message. See what's up. 330 says, hey, Bezos. Hey, Basil, you should wear your Bezos hat to the show sometime. I should. A lot of new people might not know about the Bezos hat, but Lady Night Little Wing, who's a haberdasher. Was it Lady? I think so. Haberdasher, someone who makes hats. And back when Jeff Bezos took his rocket ship into space, he wore a cowboy hat to look kind of, like a space cowboy. And the producer built me a custom Jeff Bezos cowboy hat. It's really a prized possession of mine. It hangs by my door. I wear it whenever I feed the animals. So I would wear it to the show. It's hard to do because I have headphones and I got the VR goggle, but I could probably figure it out. Thank you, 330, for that. And there you go. All right, everybody. Well, one last thing this show needs is a little bit of feeding the ducks. That's what we're doing here. This is a value for value show, of course. Remember, we don't take any money from corporations, commies, cartels, no advertising, no platform partnerships. The Wild West, baby. We can only stay alive with the participation of our producers. Producers been taking a little break recently, but here's the thing. We understand the show doesn't exist without the producers. And you can come in, keep the show going with your time, your talent, your treasure. Lots of ways to do it. Go to canarycry.support. Learn more about it. Make some art. We don't have a whole lot of Canary Cry Clubhouse art. Got to get the artists on the Clubhouse art. All right. Let's think about that. Let's see. I'm just checking to see if any producerships came in since last episode. Nope. Okay. There you go. I don't think anybody today. Yes, you're Darren Clubhouse art. Okie dokie. That's it. We're getting out of here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry Clubhouse. Make sure to tune in again. Until you do, think outside the cage.